Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of the TCS Indomitable and watched the dark stars ahead. His ship was deep in enemy space, far from Earth and safety. For 3 years, humanity had fought the Krethax Empire, and for 3 years they had been losing. The Krethax were too strong, too many, too powerful. The Indomitable was a destroyer with 147 crew members. They all knew the risks. They all volunteered anyway. Their mission was simple: go behind enemy lines, gather information, and survive. Today, that mission was about to change everything. "Captain, I'm picking up something," said Lieutenant Park Miho from his station. His fingers moved quickly across the controls. Krethax transmissions. A lot of them. Commander Choi Hyuk walked over to Park's station. "Can you break the code?" "Give me 5 minutes," Park replied. Those 5 minutes felt endless. Daeho paced back and forth, his mind racing. The Krethax only gathered their forces for big attacks. If they were gathering now, where would they strike? "Captain?" Park's voice was urgent. "You need to see this." The holographic display came alive with data. Fleet movements, coordinates, battle plans. Daeho felt his blood turn cold. 500 warships, whispered Kim Jaewon from Tactical. "All heading to one place." "That's the Imperial Grand Fleet," Choi said quietly. "Led by Supreme Commander Vorthak himself." Daeho studied the information carefully. The Grand Fleet had never lost a battle. It had destroyed entire civilizations. And now it was moving toward one target: Earth. "How long until they reach Earth?" Daeho asked. 72 hours until they're in position to attack," Jaewon answered. "Even if we send a warning now, Earth would only have 4 days to prepare." 4 days is not enough," said Chief Engineer Bae Soo-jin. "Earth can't evacuate everyone in that time. And our defense fleet can't fight 500 Krethax warships." Nobody spoke. Everyone on the bridge understood what this meant. Earth was going to die. Daeho looked at his crew. These people had followed him into danger time and time again. They trusted him. He thought about Earth, about the billions of people who had no idea death was coming for them. "There's another option," he said slowly. Choi turned to him with wide eyes. "Captain, no. We engage them." The bridge exploded with shocked voices. Bae stood up from her station. "Sir, that's suicide. 1 ship against 500? We wouldn't last 30 seconds. "Maybe," Daeho agreed. "If we fought them the way they expect us to fight. But we're human. We don't play by their rules." He brought up the display showing the Krethax fleet positions. The Krethax have conquered 200 species. They always use the same tactics. Formation warfare. Honor codes. Predictable strategies. They've never faced anyone who fights like humans do. Because fighting like humans usually means dying, Choi said. "Captain, I understand what you're thinking, but..." "If we run away, Earth dies," Daeho interrupted. "If we warn them, they still die. They'll just have 4 days of panic first. But if we attack the Grand Fleet here, if we can delay them or break their formation somehow, they'll still reach Earth eventually," Kim argued. "Even if we damage a few ships. Not if we destroy all of them." The silence was absolute. Finally Choi spoke. "You want to destroy the entire Grand Fleet. With 1 ship." "I want to give Earth a chance," Daeho corrected. "And that means the Grand Fleet never leaves this sector." Bae laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Captain, I've modified this ship beyond its limits, but there's no modification that makes us invincible." "I'm not asking for invincible," Daeho said. "I'm asking for unpredictable. The Krethax think they know everything about war. We're going to show them what happens when chaos meets order." He looked around the bridge. "I'm not ordering anyone to do this. This is a suicide mission. But if you want to try, I need everyone to agree. We vote. Majority wins." Park was the first to raise his hand. "I'm in. This is insane." "I'm in," Bae said. One by one, every hand went up. Choi was last, shaking his head even as he raised his arm. "I hate this plan, sir. But I hate watching Earth burn even more." Daeho nodded. "Then we have 72 hours to become the most dangerous thing the Krethax have ever seen." 68 hours remained until the Krethax attack on Earth. The engineering bay of the Indomitable looked like controlled chaos. Bae Soo-jin moved between stations, her hands flying across holographic screens as her team rebuilt the ship's weapon systems from scratch. "How is it going?" Captain Lee Daeho asked as he entered the bay. "We're installing adaptive combat programs," Bae replied without looking up. "The ship's computer will learn and change tactics during battle. The Krethax always fight the same way every time. Our system will use that against them." She pulled up a diagram on the screen. I've also changed the torpedo launchers. Half will carry normal explosives. The other half will carry electronic warfare packages. Sensor jammers, fake ship signals, electromagnetic pulse generators. Will it work? Deho asked. Bay finally looked at him. Against a normal fleet? Yes. Against 500 Krethax warships. She shrugged. We're about to find out. On the bridge, Commander Choi Hyuk was studying everything the Confederacy knew about Krethax warfare. Lieutenant Yang Jaiwan from Tactical sat beside him, looking at formation patterns. They're too predictable, Yang said, pointing at movement patterns on her screen. Every battle follows the same pattern. Big ships in the center, medium ships supporting them, small ships on the outside. They keep this formation even when under attack. Which means what? Choi asked. Which means if we can break their communication network, they'll be paralyzed. They don't adapt. They wait for new orders from their commanders. Choi nodded slowly. So we don't need to destroy 500 ships. We need to blind them, confuse them, and make them destroy each other. In the communication center, Park Miho was writing the message that would start their crazy plan. He had studied Krethax culture for months, learning their language and their honor codes. Listen to this, he said to Shin Yuna, his assistant. He played the recording. The message was simple, spoken in perfect Krethax language, to Supreme Commander Vorthak and the Grand Fleet. You have conquered the weak and predictable. But you have never faced humanity. We challenge you to single combat. One human ship against your honor. Unless your warriors are afraid of what one destroyer can do. Yuna made a face. That's incredibly insulting in their culture. That's the point, Park said. Vorthak is smart, but he's still Krethax. His honor won't let him ignore a direct challenge. He'll have to respond. By sending the entire fleet to crush us. No, Park said with a small smile. He'll send a small group first. To teach us a lesson. That's when we spring our trap. 48 hours remained. Captain Deho gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. The holographic display showed an asteroid field near where the Krethax Grand Fleet was assembling. This is where we make our stand, Deho said, highlighting the dense cluster of asteroids. The asteroid field will limit their movement and their sensors. It's the only advantage we'll have. Once we broadcast the challenge, Choi added, we think Vorthak will send between 20 and 50 ships to deal with us. He'll see us as a small problem. That's when we hit them with everything, Bay said. Electronic warfare first. Blind their sensors, jam their communications. Then we use the asteroids as cover and strike from unexpected angles. Lieutenant Kong Minji, the pilot, spoke up. Captain, I've been running simulations. The forces required for the maneuvers you're planning are extreme. We could lose consciousness. I've modified the systems that protect us from those forces, Bay said. They'll handle more than they're designed for. It'll be rough, but we'll survive. And if the systems fail? Minji asked. Then we die doing what we came here to do, Deho said simply. Everyone in this room volunteered knowing the odds. If anyone wants to change their mind, now is the time. No one moved. Good. We broadcast the challenge in 48 hours. Until then, rest when you can. Because once this starts, we don't stop until either we're dead or the Grand Fleet is destroyed. 24 hours remained. The crew of the Indomitable made their preparations. Some wrote letters to families they would never see again. Others sat in silence, thinking about what they were about to do. In the engine room, Bei Sujin made one final modification that she didn't tell the captain about. She rigged the ship's reactor to overload in a controlled way, creating a massive weapon. If everything failed, if the Krethax fleet surrounded them, she could detonate the reactor and create an explosion that would destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers. It was a weapon of last resort. She prayed they would never need it. On the bridge, Deho recorded a message to Earth. He explained what they had discovered and what they were about to attempt. He told them not to be sad but to remember. To remember that 147 humans had chosen to stand between Earth and destruction. He ended with simple words, we were your shield. Now we're your sword. 0 hour arrived. The Indomitable moved into position within the asteroid field. Ahead, visible on long-range sensors, the Krethax Grand Fleet assembled in perfect formation. 500 warships representing the power of an empire. Send the challenge, Deho ordered. Park activated the transmission. The insulting message shot across space toward the Grand Fleet. On the bridge, sensors detected 30 Krethax warships breaking from the main fleet and heading toward the asteroid field. Here they come, Kim Jaiwan announced. Deho stood from his command chair. All right, people. This is it. Show them what humanity can do. All hands to battle stations. Red alert lights bathed the bridge in crimson glow. The crew took their positions, hands steady despite their fear. The first Krethax ships entered the asteroid field, weapons charging, hunting for the single human destroyer that had dared to challenge an empire. They had no idea they were about to learn a lesson written in fire and chaos. The first weapons fire from the Krethax ships tore through the asteroid field, turning rock and ice into brilliant explosions. They were firing blindly, trying to find the Indomitable. "They can't get a sensor lock on us," Park Miho reported. "The asteroids and our modifications are working." "Wait for it," Captain Lee Daeho said calmly, watching the tactical display. 30 Krethax warships spread through the field in a standard search pattern. Predictable and methodical, exactly as expected. "Captain, they're getting close to our position," Lieutenant Kong Minji warned. "Steady. Let them get comfortable first." The Krethax ships moved deeper into the asteroid field, their formation tightening as they navigated through the dense rocks. "Perfect. Now," Daeho ordered. "Execute Protocol Phantom." The Indomitable launched modified torpedoes into the surrounding space. The torpedoes exploded, releasing massive electromagnetic pulses and holographic projectors. Suddenly, the Krethax sensors showed not one human ship, but dozens of false targets. "Their communications are jammed," Park announced. "They can't coordinate with each other or the main fleet. All power to engines." Minji, pattern Delta 7. The Indomitable burst from behind a massive asteroid, moving at impossible speeds. The crew felt crushing forces even through the protective systems, but the ship moved like nothing the Krethax had ever seen. Kim Jaiwan opened fire. Precision railgun strikes hammered the nearest Krethax cruiser, destroying its sensor arrays. Blind and confused, the cruiser fired wildly and its weapons struck 2 of its own ships. 3 ships damaged from friendly fire, Jaiwan reported with satisfaction. The Indomitable dove between asteroids, twisting and rolling through maneuvers that should have been impossible. The ship spun and turned while Lieutenant Oh Hyun-woo in engineering managed power distribution, shifting energy between shields, weapons and engines in a careful dance. "Incoming fire, port side," Minji called out. "Roll 90 degrees, full speed," Daeho commanded. The ship spun and Krethax plasma bolts screamed past, close enough to trigger temperature alarms. The bolts struck an asteroid instead, breaking it into thousands of deadly shards that hit the Krethax formation. "They're adapting," Choi warned. "Switching to backup communications. We have maybe 2 minutes before they coordinate again. Then we make those 2 minutes count. Jaiwan, target their command ships." The Indomitable weaved through the chaos, striking with surgical precision. Another Krethax cruiser lost its bridge in a railgun attack. A destroyer trying to pursue the nimble human ship crashed into an asteroid at full speed and exploded. "Captain," Park shouted. "I'm intercepting Krethax communications. They're calling us demons. They've never seen a ship move like this." "Good," Daeho said coldly. "Fear makes mistakes." But the Krethax were learning. The remaining ships began firing in coordinated patterns, filling space with deadly energy. There was nowhere left to dodge. "Brace for impact," Choi yelled. The Indomitable shuddered as plasma bolts slammed into the shields. Warning alarms screamed. In engineering, Bae Sujin watched her displays with growing concern. "Shields at 40%, she reported. "If we take another hit like that." "We won't," Daeho interrupted. "Minji, take us into the dense cluster, Section 7 Gamma. Sir, that area has asteroids too close together. We can't." "We can." "They can't." "Do it." Minji's hands flew across her controls and the Indomitable dove into a nightmare maze of spinning rock and ice. Asteroids whipped past within meters of the hull. One wrong move meant instant death. Behind them, 3 Krethax ships tried to follow. 2 exploded against asteroids. The third pulled back, unwilling to risk the suicidal maneuver. For 3 hours the battle raged. The Indomitable darted through the asteroid field like a ghost, appearing to strike and vanishing before the Krethax could respond. Bae's electronic warfare systems created false targets. Park broadcast fake messages on Krethax frequencies, adding to the confusion. But the Indomitable was paying a heavy price. Shield strength dropped to 20%, then 10%. Hull breaches appeared in multiple sections. 23 crew members died when a plasma bolt penetrated the weakened shields and destroyed an entire compartment. "We can't keep this up," Bae reported, strain clear in her voice. "The ship is falling apart." Daeho checked the tactical display. Of the original 30 Krethax ships, only 12 remained combat ready. The others were destroyed, disabled, or had retreated. Time to end this. Jaiwan, prepare the resonance torpedoes. Sir, those are experimental. They might not. They'll work. Target the 3 largest asteroids. Minji, plot an exit that takes us through the main group of enemy ships. Choi understood immediately. You're going to collapse the asteroids on them? The Krethax fight with honor and formation, Daeho said. We fight with physics and chaos. Fire torpedoes. The resonance torpedoes struck 3 massive asteroids. Their specialized warheads created harmonic vibrations deep within the rock. For a moment nothing happened. Then the asteroids exploded from structural collapse. Trillions of tons of rock and ice erupted outward in a wave of destruction. All power to forward shields. Maximum speed. The Indomitable raced ahead of the expanding debris field. Behind them, the remaining Krethax ships were caught in the asteroid storm. Their larger hulls made them perfect targets. Ships vanished under the assault of rock moving at incredible speeds. Shields failed. Hulls crumpled. In 30 seconds the battle was over. The Indomitable emerged from the asteroid field, battered but intact. Behind them, wreckage marked the graves of 30 Krethax warships. All enemy contacts destroyed or disabled, Jaiwan reported quietly. The bridge was silent. 1 human destroyer against 30 Krethax ships. They had won. But celebration died quickly. Captain, Park said, his voice hollow. Long-range sensors detecting movement from the Grand Fleet. They know what happened. How many ships? Daeho asked. All of them, sir. 470 warships. Supreme Commander Vorthak is bringing the entire fleet. The Indomitable drifted at the edge of the asteroid field, running on minimal power. From a distance it looked dead in space. That was exactly what Captain Lee Daeho wanted. Status report, he asked quietly. Hull breaches sealed in sections 3, 4, and 7, reported Damage Control Officer Han Jisu. We've lost life support in the back compartments. Crew casualties at 28. 28 people dead. 28 souls who had trusted him. Daeho felt each loss like a weight on his chest. Weapons? He asked. Railguns at 40% capacity, Kim Jaiwan replied. We have maybe 12 shots total before the systems fail completely. Shields? Chief Engineer Bae Soo-jin shook her head. Not working. We don't have the power to repair them. 1 direct hit and we're finished, Captain. Commander Choi Hyuk pulled up the tactical display. The Krethax Grand Fleet was 3 hours away, advancing in a massive sphere formation. 470 ships arranged in rings, the most powerful at the center. They're not taking chances, Choi observed. That formation counters everything we did before. Overlapping weapons fire, backup communications, command structures spread across multiple ships. Supreme Commander Vorthak is learning, Lieutenant Yang Jaiwan added. He studied our tactics. This formation eliminates most of our advantages. Not all of them, Daeho said. He highlighted a section of the fleet. They're still predictable. Look at the spacing. It's perfect. Mathematical. Each ship exactly where their doctrine says it should be. Because it works, Choi argued. Captain, we can't outmaneuver 400 ships. We can't create enough chaos. There are too many of them. Daeho turned to face his second-in-command. You're right. We can't beat them in a normal fight. So we don't fight normally. He activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. I won't lie about our situation. We're damaged, outgunned, and facing impossible odds. The Krethax Grand Fleet will be here in 3 hours, and they plan to destroy us and then Earth. Throughout the ship, the crew listened. Some were in medical being treated. Others worked on repairs. All of them stopped to hear their captain's words. But the Krethax don't understand something about humanity. We don't surrender. We don't accept impossible. And when we're cornered with no escape and no hope, that's when we become truly dangerous. He paused. I have a plan. It will probably kill us all. But it might save Earth. I need every person on this ship to give me everything they have. Can you do that? The responses came from throughout the ship. From engineering, from medical, from weapons control. 119 voices united in defiance. Aye, Captain. Daeho closed the channel and turned to his senior staff. Bae, I need you to rig the reactor for controlled overload. A cascading subspace rupture. Bae's eyes widened. Captain, that's theoretical. We've never tested it. The calculations alone. You have 2 hours. Can you do it? She was silent for a long moment, her mind racing through equations. Finally she nodded. I can do it. But Captain, we'd need to be at the exact center of their formation. And the activation time is 60 seconds. They'd destroy us before it could complete. That's why we need them to do exactly what we want, Deho said. He turned to Park Miho. I need you to send a message to Vorthak. Direct communication only. What kind of message? A surrender. The bridge fell silent. Choi stared at his captain. Sir? We're going to offer to surrender, Deho explained. Unconditional. We'll tell Vorthak we can't win and don't want our crew to die pointlessly. We'll ask for terms. He'll never believe it, Yang said. After what we did to his ships. He'll think it's a trap. He will think it's a trap, Deho agreed. But his culture demands he accepts a surrender offer. It's part of their honor code. If he refuses, he loses face with his own people. So he accepts our surrender, Choi said slowly. Which means he has to bring his flagship close to formally take custody of our ship. And he'll surround us with his most powerful vessels, Deho finished. As a show of force and as insurance against tricks. He'll bring the heart of his fleet right to us. And that's when we detonate the rupture, Bay whispered. We take out the flagship, the command ships, the dreadnoughts. We cut off the head of the entire fleet. Leaving the remaining ships leaderless and scattered, Deho confirmed. It won't destroy them all, but it will break them. Give Earth time to mount a real defense. Lieutenant Kong Minji spoke quietly. Captain, you're talking about a suicide mission. None of us will survive. No, Deho admitted. We won't. That's why I'm giving everyone a choice. We have 3 shuttlecraft. They're damaged but they'll fly. Anyone who wants to evacuate has 30 minutes. No judgment, no shame. He looked around the bridge. I'm staying. I'm seeing this through. But the rest of you have a choice. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Park spoke. Captain, you need me to send the surrender message. I'm staying. I'm the chief engineer, Bay said. No one else can calibrate the reactor. I'm staying. One by one, the senior staff declared their intention to remain. All of them chose to stay. Over the next 30 minutes, 3 people made their way to the shuttle bay. Deho didn't know who they were. They had every right to choose life. The shuttles launched, heading away at maximum speed. 116 crew remained aboard the Indomitable. Send the message, Deho ordered. Park transmitted the surrender offer to Supreme Commander Vorthak. On the Krethak's flagship, Vorthak received the message. He listened to the human captain offering surrender in exchange for crew safety. It's a trap, his officer said. Obviously, Vorthak replied. But refusing a surrender offer would be dishonorable. He considered the situation. The human ship was crippled, barely operational. What threat could it pose? We accept their surrender, he decided. But we take precautions. Our 12 most powerful dreadnoughts will accompany my flagship. If they attempt anything, we destroy them instantly. Vorthak transmitted his response accepting the surrender. His flagship would arrive in 90 minutes. On the Indomitable, the crew received the message. Choi looked at Deho. He took the bait. Now comes the hard part, Deho replied. We need to keep them convinced for 60 seconds while their weapons are locked on us. The wait was agonizing. The crew performed their final tasks in silence. Some wrote last messages. Others sat quietly making peace with death. Supreme Commander Vorthak's flagship approached with 12 massive dreadnoughts surrounding it. They encircled the Indomitable in a sphere of overwhelming firepower. Begin formal surrender protocols, Vorthak ordered. On the human ship, Deho gave one final order. Bay, initiate the sequence. In engineering, Bay's hands moved across the controls. Reactor overload in 60 seconds. The reactor core of the Indomitable began to glow with dangerous energy. In engineering, Bay Sujin watched the countdown timer. 60 seconds until the subspace rupture would tear reality apart. On the bridge, Captain Lee Deho maintained communication with Supreme Commander Vorthak. His voice was calm, steady, as if he really was surrendering. We request safe passage for our crew, Deho said. They are warriors who fought with honor. Your request is acknowledged, Vorthak replied. His flagship and 12 dreadnoughts now surrounded the Indomitable in a perfect sphere. Exactly where Deho needed them. 45 seconds. Captain, they're scanning us, Park Miho whispered urgently. If they detect the reactor overload. Keep them talking, Deho said quietly. Then louder to Vorthak. We also request that our ship's logs be sent to Earth. So our families know what happened. Vorthak considered this. An honorable request. It will be granted. 30 seconds. On the Krethax flagship, a sensor officer suddenly looked up from his station. Supreme Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the human ship's reactor. Elaborate, Vorthak demanded. The reactor is building to overload. The officer's eyes widened. It's cascading. This isn't a malfunction. This is deliberate. Vorthak understood instantly. All ships full reverse. Get away from. 20 seconds. But it was too late. The Krethax dreadnoughts were massive, powerful, but slow. They couldn't escape in time. It's been an honor serving with you all, Deho said to his crew. Around the bridge, his officers stood at their stations, faces calm despite the fear in their eyes. Commander Choi Hyuk stood beside his captain. Do you think it will be enough, sir? To save Earth? I hope so, Deho replied quietly. I really hope so. 10 seconds. Kim Jaiwan looked at her weapons console one last time. Lieutenant Kang Minji took her hands off the helm controls. Park Miho closed his eyes. Bae Sujin, down in engineering, whispered a prayer for Earth. 5 seconds. Deho activated the ship-wide communication one final time. This is Captain Lee Deho to anyone who hears this. We were humanity's shield. Now we're its sword. Tell Earth we did our duty. Tell them we... 0. The reactor didn't just explode. It tore a hole in the fabric of space itself. The subspace rupture expanded outward at the speed of light, a sphere of pure destructive energy that consumed everything in its path. The Indomitable vanished first, torn apart at the molecular level. Then Supreme Commander Vorthak's flagship, the mighty Eternal Dominion, simply ceased to exist. The 12 dreadnoughts surrounding it lasted less than a second longer. The rupture continued expanding. Krethax ships tried to flee, but the rupture moved faster than their engines could run. 356 ships were caught in the cascading destruction. In less than 30 seconds, the heart of the Krethax Grand Fleet was gone. The explosion was so massive it was visible from systems 20 light-years away. When the energy finally dissipated, only scattered debris remained where an empire's might had once gathered. 144 Krethax ships survived on the outer edges. They broke formation and fled in complete disarray, their command structure destroyed, their supreme commander dead, their confidence shattered. News of the Grand Fleet's destruction spread across the galaxy within hours. The Krethax Empire, which had never known defeat, descended into political chaos. 17 conquered species immediately rebelled, sensing weakness for the first time. On Earth, the Terran Confederacy received the Indomitable's final transmission. At first, they thought it was impossible. No one could destroy the Grand Fleet. But when deep space sensors confirmed the fleet's destruction, humanity fell silent. Then came the grief. 116 heroes who would never come home. 116 names that would be remembered forever. The Krethax Empire sued for peace within 6 months. Their conquest had ended. Other galactic powers suddenly viewed humanity with cautious respect and fear. The species that had seemed weak and insignificant had destroyed the greatest military fleet in known space with a single ship. 10 years later, a massive monument stood on Earth. It was a perfect replica of the Indomitable, rendered in black marble. At its base were engraved 116 names. Every name of every crew member who had stayed aboard for the final mission. Millions visited the monument every year. Parents brought their children to teach them about sacrifice and courage. Military cadets stood in silence, understanding the weight of duty. The elderly came to remember the day humanity proved it would never surrender. At the base of the monument, Captain Lee Deho's final words were carved in letters of gold. We were humanity's shield. Now we're its sword. A young cadet named Lee Sunmi stood before the memorial, reading the names. Her grandfather had been on that ship. She touched his name gently, then looked up at the replica destroyer towering above her. I'll make you proud, grandfather, she whispered. In orbit above Earth, the new flagship of humanity's expanded fleet prepared for launch. It was larger, more powerful, equipped with technology developed from the lessons learned in that desperate battle 10 years ago. The ship's name was painted in bold letters across its hull. TCS Indomitable 2. On the bridge of the new flagship, the captain looked out at the stars. Humanity had learned a hard lesson that day. They were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the most advanced. But they were the most dangerous when cornered, the most unpredictable when desperate, the most willing to sacrifice everything for those they loved. The galaxy had learned something too. They learned to fear the species that turned one ship into a weapon that destroyed an empire. They learned that humanity didn't fight with honor or formation or predictable tactics. Humanity fought to win no matter the cost. and that made them the most terrifying warriors the galaxy had ever known. The young captain of the Indomitable II smiled as her ship jumped into hyperspace, heading toward the frontier. Somewhere out there, new threats waited. New enemies who thought humanity was weak. They would learn the same lesson the Krethax had learned. They would learn it written in fire and sacrifice and the memory of 116 souls who had refused to let Earth die. The legend of the Indomitable would never fade. It would be told for generations across 100 worlds in 1,000 languages. The story of how one human ship destroyed an empire's greatest fleet and changed the galaxy forever. The end.